So today we're going to be looking a little bit more at some more real world examples of how we might use ClickUp as a team, as an individual here at the Maritime Center. So I'm hoping that by the end of this training, that you come away with a few things. One is a better understanding of how you can create tasks in ClickUp depending on where those tasks originated. So whether they came out of a work plan meeting, just a random conversation, a department meeting, an email request, etc. Number two, that you'll walk away with a better understanding of how you can use ClickUp on a day-to-day basis to check what tasks you should be working on and to help organize your work. Three, a better understanding of how we will use ClickUp for cross-department projects. And four, an understanding of what the next steps are for after today for getting up to speed with ClickUp and starting to use it. And so that'll include, I'm going to review what you should do on your first day using ClickUp, which will hopefully be sometime between now and Monday, and what you should do on your first 2 weeks and your first month. So yeah, lots to cover today, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end for some questions as well, but same thing goes. If you have a question in the middle, speak up. I'm not going to be looking at the chat, so please just interrupt me. And if I can't answer a question, then I will, Tuesday's taking notes, and I will come back to it another time. Yeah, let's get going. So I'm going to share my screen. Hold on 1 second. Let's see here. Share my screen. Okay. Can everybody, is this big enough? Do you feel like you can read text in here? Oops, I'm not looking. I'm assuming everyone's nodding their heads. If they're not, someone please speak up. Okay,
it looks good.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, whoever that was. So just a really quick refresh of what we covered at the last meeting. The structure of ClickUp basically looks like this. We have spaces. And there's a space for each department, as well as everyone's going to have their own private space. Then within a space, there are folders. And within a folder, there are lists. And then you can also have lists that just live underneath the space and not within a specific folder. All tasks will live on a list. So as you can see, here's like a parent task, and then here are some subtasks below that parent task. And then, so kind of standards for the organization as we use ClickUp, every task needs to have an assignee, a start date, a due date, and this department field. This department field is set up to, there's an automation set at every space level. So any task that's added into the development space should auto-populate this department field. So hopefully you shouldn't really have to worry about that, but if you see something that's missed, then you should just click on the field and then select the department that's owning that project. So if it's a development project, it would be this would be filled out as development, regardless of who is actually doing the work. So even if it's communications person doing the work, this field should still say development.
Hey, Hallie, by default, when you create a new task, are those just the 4 fields that show up to be filled in?
The assignee, start date, due date, and department?
Yes.
Yeah, so the way I have set up all of the departments, and I created templates as well for folders and lists, those are automatically there. If you create a new folder or a new list without, not from a template, or not from one of the templates that I have set up for us, then it will only have, I believe, the assignee and the due date. And in order to add the start date in the department field, you would click this plus button right here. You would scroll down. Oh, the department, you would scroll down, it would say department at the bottom here. You would select it, and then you would also select the start date field as well. And you can then reorder them just by dragging and dropping. So great question, Daniel. So no, automatically, if you just created a random list, not from a template, it would not have all 4 of these fields. But as a standard, we do want to have all 4 of these fields for the general work that we do. There could certainly be lists for types of work such as grants that have a whole different set of fields. But I think for most of the work we do on the day-to-day basis, especially cross-department work, they'll have these 4 fields, or they need to have these 4 fields. So then just another quick reminder, up here is where you'll find the views, and views are just different ways of viewing the same information. So there are list views, there are board views, and then there are calendar views as well. And you can view the, and then lists, or sorry, excuse me, views can either be private, so just a personal view for yourself, or they can be public to the entire workspace. Let's see. And then other quick reminder, this everything space or area up here is a way to see all of the work across the entire organization in one spot. And you, again, you'll only, you as a standard user will only have access to view the tasks that you have access to, like their parent space or their parent folder as well. So that's a very brief refresh of what we did on Monday. So now we're going to talk about how tasks are added to ClickUp based on where they originate. So the first one that I will talk about is, the first example is going to be a work plan meeting. So, sorry, let me just find where I was doing my notes. So all work plan meetings are going to start out with a project lead giving an update on the project so the team is on the same page. This isn't, that brief statement is not new. That's part of our process map. It's in the sidebar that has the description of all of the meetings that we have in our project management process. So start out the meeting with a lead giving an update on the project. Then the goal by the end of the meeting is to have all of the deliverables and work back tasks in ClickUp scheduled and assigned. And then at least one person in the meeting has ClickUp open and is adding in the tasks as they are discussed. I also want to pause and say that I'm going to write all this down, and this will be included in some documentation in ClickUp, so don't feel like you have to have all of this memorized. So then the first thing that we're going to do in a work plan meeting is figure out what are these high level deliverables and steps that need to happen. So I pulled up, for example, this is the comms and registration list within the program space. And I thought that we would pretend like we're adding, in April, we're going to be launching the summer programs. And so I'm going to use this as an example of what would happen. We have the meeting. It's a few of us are in this meeting. Maybe it's a communications work plan meeting, because this will help my later example of what we'll do if someone is in the work plan meeting or someone is assigned a task when they're not in the work plan meeting. So let's say it's a communications work plan meeting. Ace is there, I'm there, and Jess and Tuesday are there, we'll pretend. So we're going to go through and talk about all of the kind of high level things that need to happen. So one of the big things, all summer program details need to be finalized. We'll have the date that summer programs are launched, and then we'll start working out. We also know that we need to do a boat shop rack card, and we need to send a summer programs blast email, and we need to do a summer programs social media push. So we'll pretend those are the things we're going to do for the programs being launched. As you can see, these aren't auto-populating. I believe if we refresh the page, hopefully, fingers crossed, that those will be populated upon a refresh. For some reason, that one didn't. So anyways, so then from there, we'll basically start filling in due dates, assignees if necessary, or depending on the order of operations, we'll fill out due dates, and then we'll start working out the work back tasks. So for example, in order for summer programs to be launched, a few different things have to happen. So the program descriptions proofed, programs added to CampBrain, programs added to web. Let's just pretend those are the three things that need to happen in order for summer programs to be launched. So then we can start adding in start dates and due dates. So summer programs are going to be launched on, let's see, April 1st. Descriptions need to be proofed. I'm just going to throw in some random dates by March 15. That's the date that's going to happen. Programs are going to be added to CampBrain March 16 through 19. And then programs are going to be added to the website, I don't know, March 22nd and 23rd. Obviously, making updates in this timeline doesn't make sense, but that's kind of the flow of how you would be adding information start dates and due dates to a work plan in ClickUp. And then from there, we would start adding. Oh, yeah, sorry.
They're related to that. So this is, you know, really focused on communication and registration for summer programs, but would there be a way to blow that out and have every task in there that needs to go to summer programs, but have those tasks, you know, flagged for different departments? Or does it need to be a communications and registrations plan and then like a, you know, program staff plan and a operations plan? Does that make sense?
So the way I thought about that when we were setting up ClickUp is that if it's work that's happening really just within your department, then that's kind of a separate grouping of folders and lists. So as you can see here, and this is what Robin and I came up with based on the way y'all structure your Google Drive folders, Chrissy. I'm just using programs as an example, but y'all do a lot of work in programs that is, I believe, is just happening in programs. So it's not reaching out and touching other parts of the organization. So those would be maybe built out in the operations and whatnot would be built out in these other folders. And then specifically anything that's more focused on communications and registration and outreach, or for example, if there was something, I don't know, if it was an event and there was like a lot of work related to volunteers, those might get their own lists that are separate from the rest of it. That said, an example of that for an event, a smaller event, for example, like maybe for Giving Tuesday in development, it's a relatively small giving day. It might not need lots of different lists or folders. And so in that scenario, we might put everything for Giving Tuesday in one list. And I believe excuse me, I believe that's how I've set that up. So, or for example, She Tells Details, small events and giving days, and there's just one list for all of She Tells Details. If I click on this, you'll see it's really only communications things, but that's only because no one else was using ClickUp when I built this out. So Angela, for example, is the She Tells lead, would have a bunch of tasks in here as well.
So in that scenario, which makes sense how you set it up, is there a way for me to tag or somehow have that comms list linked to, like, if I was working on setting up summer programs and I have my master plan, part of it is communications and registrations, is there a way for me to link that in my list so that it is automatically connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you, I think this is what you're asking, or well, I think this is a way to do it. So if you had, for example, a task in your list that was about developing the list of summer program offerings, and then we added that into this communications and registration list, we can actually select those, and somewhere in here you can merge the task. And so we can look for the task in your list and merge the two. Similarly, we could also, another option is to link those two tasks together. So maybe they're really similar, but they're slightly different. Maybe we, instead we can select that. I think you can even just, if you click on dependencies here, you can add a linked task, and that can be anywhere in the entire workspace of the organization.
Hallie, is this also possibly a case where we might be able to do the dependency? Like, we can't start on the multi-department project list until programs has finished theirs?
Yes, we can't start on the multi-department project list. What do you mean? So, we can definitely set up dependencies. I don't know that we can set up, we can't set up dependencies like list to list, but task to task, yes. And dependencies can definitely be linked across any space in the Maritime Center workspace.
Okay. Can you, hi, it's Eileen. Can you assign a task to more than one person?
Yes, you can. We want to be careful when we do that, because the more tasks, the more assignees a task has, I think the less clear it is on who's actually supposed to be doing it. If, for example, there's a task like everyone read the document that Hallie sent, and there was only one task and it was assigned to 5 people. If one person changes the status of that task, it will change for everyone. So that's a limitation there. If you need to be able to check off the task at the individual level that's assigned to multiple people, you would need to actually duplicate that task and assign one person to each task. but you can absolutely make an assignment to multiple people. And in addition to that, ClickUp has a really cool feature called Teams that we can set up so that, for example, there's this communications team, and there's 3 people in the team, Jess, Tuesday, and myself. And so we can actually assign a task to the team instead. And so, for example, if it was like all of programs and you don't want to sit there and have to select every single person in programs, you can assign it to the programs team.
I'd say, Hallie, that's a good use of dependencies too. If everyone has to read something and they're all dependent subtasks, that it doesn't officially check the task until all the dependencies are complete.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Hallie, are those teams something that we each set up individually, or are they organization-wide?
They're organization-wide, and I believe it'll be, I'm not sure if the power users can do that. We'll have to test that out, but Pete or I can definitely do it.
And can you be on more than one team?
Yes, you can be on more than one team. Okay. So we've added our tasks. We started adding due dates. We're going to add some assignments, and then let's pretend we've done this for all of the tasks in here. Oh, one thing I will say, it seems like ClickUp doesn't always assign the department to this. It won't automatically do it to the subtask all the time. So just keep an eye out for that. And just everyone, I think we need to just be really dedicated to making sure that when we're adding in tasks that the department field is filled out. So that'll be something we just need to do as a team. Another thing we can do is turn tasks into milestones. And I talked about that a little bit on Monday. But for example, a key decision needs to be made, or if in this example, all summer program details are finalized. That to me stands out as a milestone for like something that is a really important thing that needs to happen before any of the other work can happen. So I'm going to right click that and say mark as milestone, and it's going to make it stand out more in any view. So in a list view, a board view, or a calendar view. So by the end of the work plan meeting, we have all of our work back tasks, assignees, start dates, and due dates. We're making sure that the department field is filled out. We're assigning our milestones. And then, for example, this programs are added to Camp Brain. This actually isn't Tuesday. This is, actually, I'll say it's Verity. But, oh, Verity wasn't in this meeting. So we've realized that was a miss. Ideally, we should have just invited her to the meeting if she was going to have tasks that came out of it. But if it was maybe like, if the bulk of the meeting was about communications and really didn't apply to her, maybe we just figured it's better if we just don't waste her time inviting her to this meeting. But instead, I'm going to hop over to my email and I'm going to send her an email and say, hey, Verity, we just had this communications meeting for a programs launch. There were some tasks in there that were assigned to you. Here's the link. I'll grab the link to this list. I'm going to send it over to her and say, can you just review this and make sure that this assignment makes sense and that the dates work for your schedule.
Hey, Hallie, is that something, since she's assigned in that task, is that something you could just do in the comments of that task?
Yeah.
And it would send to her?
Yeah, so that's a great thing. And that's actually something that I have on my list to talk with Katie and maybe the power users about. I think that ultimately, Daniel, yes, that's what we'll do. I'm a little concerned about relying on that from the get-go, especially as people are sorting out what notifications they want to receive via email, because I think those could easily get lost until we have a really clear understanding of like how we're using comments and what notifications people are receiving. For example, you sent me some chats the other day and I almost didn't even look at them because I'm so used to getting notification emails from ClickUp that I don't care about. So that tells me that I need to fine tune the notification emails that I'm receiving so that the comments stand out more. So yes, in the long run, I think that's something that we could do in the comments here. I would tag Verity and say the same thing that I just said out loud in the email. She would get a notification about it via email or within a browser pop-up notification or something. And but right now I'm a little concerned that those things will be missed as we're all getting up to speed with ClickUp.
Will you do it, Hallie? I want to see what it looks like.
Oh, sure, yeah. So I would say like Verity. This is an abbreviated version of what I should say, but does this timeline work for you? It'll pop up. Depending on what notifications Verity gets, she might get an email. She might get a little browser like fly-in pop-up. Or if she's in ClickUp, I believe she would see a pop-up maybe down here. I need to remind myself where the pop-ups happen in ClickUp. But she will at least get a notification email, assuming she has that turned on. And that's where I think the power users and Katie and I will need to do a little more work to have some suggestions of like, these are the notifications that you should have turned on for email.
Hey, Holly. So I guess Verity, I could ask you this too, but so if that invitation or assignment has landed in Verity's world, similar to like when we send out a calendar invite, you know somebody has responded if they say yes or no or maybe or have a comment, so you're able to move forward because you have that information. How, like Verity, how does she share with you, Hallie, that does she have to accept the invitation for that assignment of that task?
Nope, she doesn't accept the invitation. There's no accepting of assignment. She would just have to tell me, like, she pretend I'm Verity now. She would actually, I think she can reply.
You would just have to reply. So is that a convention or a norm that we want to set? Like, or do we are we going to have that expectation that if you have assigned that task to Verity, are you then expecting that she's going to say, yes, I've got it?
No. Well, yeah, similar to how we would send an email and expect someone to respond if we ask them to a question.
Okay.
Yeah, they should say yes. But I think, and that's a good one, Robin. Like, that'll come out as we figure out what those best practices are for commenting people and for getting your notifications set up. That's a good one to make sure we spell out explicitly.
Okay.
And I think then in that case, in that scenario, if Verity was like, well, actually, none of this works for us, like we really need to redo this whole thing, that would be a time that maybe we actually need to call a meeting and then learn from it for the future. And the next time we do a programs launch, we invite Verity from the beginning.
So how will she know that none of it works for her if the only thing she sees is that one task that's assigned to her?
Well, I mean, hopefully, I mean, if I'm sending her an email, I would probably link to the entire list. If I'm just tagging her in a comment on this, then she should probably click up here to the list and actually view what the timeline is. And I would spell out in my comment, like, this was an abbreviated version just for the sake of this meeting, but I would say something more spelled out of like, hey, we just had a communications work plan meeting. Does this timeline for this work plan work for you? And then from there, she would look at the list.
So since Verity's not part of the programs department though, could she see that list?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the program, all of the department spaces are shared with the entire team.
Okay.
If you have folders,
you mean the entire team as in the entire staff, or do you mean
the entire staff? So if you have, but then remember, if you have folders or lists within that space that you really just need to keep shared between you and a couple people or you and your team, you can change the permission settings at the space and folder level, or excuse me, at the folder and list level within the space. Okay, so, and then the final thing is that to remember that when you're having a meeting, you can a lot of times parking lot things come up, things that need to be tackled at a later date, or something needs to be researched and figured out later on. Definitely add those tasks as well. Okay, any more questions about the work plan? I know that this is a lot, and I think it's going to be it's going to feel more like second nature after a month or after 2 months once we've really started doing this as a team. But someone had a question?
I have a question, but I think I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
How would you advise that we, in this example where you're having a meeting and you're identifying tasks, how would you advise where we put the minutes that maybe precede the tasks?
Right. So that's another thing that's on my list to talk to power users and Katie about. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that right now.
Okay.
I think that will come, and I'm going to talk about this in the next part when we talk about like department meetings and check-ins, but that I think that there's meeting meeting templates and meeting agenda templates in ClickUp to help us run meetings in ClickUp. I don't have those built right now, but my hope is that in that creation of those that type of template, we would develop some practices and some protocols for how, I guess that was redundant, but for how we take meeting notes, maybe in ClickUp, or maybe we decide as a team that, you know what, we still need a Google Doc where we're taking these notes, and we're just going to link to that Google Doc, maybe in the description on the list, or maybe just in the specific task. We add the meeting notes link. I'm not sure. That was just an idea. I'm not saying that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
So department meetings and check-ins. That's the next place where I think that there would be some tasks that come out of this. And as I just said, I think we're definitely going to be working on creating some templates that you can use in your department meetings. I think that realistically, they're all going to be different. The way Robin runs her department meetings is going to be different than the way I run my department meetings, and so on. But we'll be working together over the next month. Maybe Robin comes up with a way that she wants to organize her meetings, and she develops a template, and then she thinks, hey, this might be really helpful for the whole organization, and she could share that. So we're just gonna have to stay connected and informed, and communicate well with each other, especially over the next couple. I mean, in general, we should do that, but especially over the next couple of months as we're being brought up to speed on this. So some other ways that you would be adding tasks into ClickUp from a department meeting or a check-in, if you might just be using your Google Chrome extension. So for example, if you were taking, I'm sorry, I don't have a Google Doc pulled up, but if you, I should have done that, I'm sorry. If you had a Google Doc pulled up, I don't know what this is, but we'll just add it. And pretend this is where we're taking notes. You could use your Google Chrome extension to quickly create a task that comes up out of that department meeting or check-in. And as a reminder, in case anyone wasn't here, if I click that new task button, I can choose the destination. So I can select those, whichever space I want it to go in, and then the folder in the list. I can add my task title here. I can add a description, put a due date on it, add an assignee, and then create a new task from there. So that's one way you could do it. If you were in ClickUp, you could also either navigate to the list that you're working off of, or no matter where you are in ClickUp, you could just use this quick create button down here to create a new task, and then select your location, add the task title here, add the description here, select your department here. Remember that department custom field. You can add subtasks as well if you wanted to, right at the same time. You can set your due dates, add a tag if necessary, schedule or set some dependencies, set your watchers, and add assignments as well. Assignment is up here. So quick create button down here, no matter where you are assuming you use Chrome, which I think a lot of us do, but I hope you do. I'm not sure what the extension, if there's an extension for Firefox or any of those other web browsers, but you could use this Chrome extension as well. And so, okay, so those are our options for department meetings or check-ins. And again, we'll be doing some more work to maybe develop some meeting templates that you could be using.
Can I ask you a quick Chrome related question?
Yeah.
Remind me that it looks like there's a Google embed tab at the top of where you're at in ClickUp. Would that be how I would link something to a calendar invite that was developed in ClickUp if there was a list?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I don't know that I understood your question.
Well, for example, if we started using ClickUp for our program department meeting agendas or different meeting agendas versus a Google Sheets, how do I link to that agenda in a calendar invite?
How do you link to the, if, for example, if there was like a task in here that was your meeting agenda, and then from there, that was the template, you could, a few different ways. You could click the share button, and I believe if you click public sharing, it will give you the public link to use. So you could put that so the link to the list into your calendar invite. but this would be if you were trying to add, like this would be a good, this is if you're trying to embed another, like a Google Sheet or a Google Doc in ClickUp. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I was just thinking about like meetings that we have that we're working off shared work plans that right now are in Google Sheets, but might be in ClickUp, like how to add those to invitations.
Right. Yep. So that, yeah. So I think, does the share option, the share option that I just showed you, would that be a solution for you?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Okay, so we've covered adding tasks from a work plan meeting, adding tasks from a department meeting or check-in. Now we'll talk about an email or Hangouts request. There, I think it's really simple. You're basically just going to use either the, let's see, I'm looking for a, you can click this button and off of any email, and then create a task this way as well. And you can, in this scenario, hopefully these assignments are just like you're assigning yourself tasks. You're not just assigning another person. Though that said, if you're a department manager, you might be assigning a task to someone within your department. And then alternatively, if you're in ClickUp already, you can click this quick create button, or you can navigate to wherever you're trying to add the task and add it from there as well. So I would click this new task button here, new task button up here. ClickUp request form, which we looked at a little bit on Monday or Tuesday, I guess. So ClickUp request form, there, if we had an IT request option, we would, let's say, we'll have this link somewhere that's accessible for everyone so that you can quickly navigate to it. Someone would fill out the request form. It would automatically populate the list based on how the thing is set up. And then depending on how we set this up, there might be a request. So I can see here, there's like a requested due date, and then they can select their priority. So that will populate the list in ClickUp. There's a requested by a, oh, I don't see the requested due date. Anyways, there's another field in here that would be a requested due date. And then Pete, though, since we're in IT right now, Pete could actually go in and say, actually, this is the due date that this is when I'm actually gonna get it done by. We'll have to do a little bit of work on developing protocols for how Pete then informs the person that, like, even though you requested that I'm going to do this by Friday, I actually am not going to do this until Monday, for example. I don't know that it could just, anyways, we'll develop some best practices for how to do that and as a team. And then, so email Hangouts requests, we've figured out how to add tasks from those. There is actually a ClickUp and Hangouts integration. I haven't played with it. I don't know what it looks like, but that is something that we could explore, maybe after our initial rollout as a team.
Hey, Hallie, are you going to talk about a mobile?
Yes. So that was in my next, well, actually, I don't even know when I was going to talk about that. But yes, you can also use the mobile app to create tasks. I have not used it. Daniel, I think maybe has used it a little bit more, but that's a great thing for if you're out and about having a conversation with someone and you need to add a task. You can actually just pull up the mobile app on your phone and create a task that way. And then I think it's similar options and Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, but that you don't actually have to be in the list where you want the task to show up. You can be anywhere in the mobile app, create the task, and then assign it to the list where you want it to be.
Yeah, and I would say the great thing about it is on the app, there's just a button at the bottom you hit, and you can create a notification or a task. But where I found myself using it a lot is I just create notifications, and then I'm able to go back and see all the notifications, and then you just convert them to tasks and put them where you want later. But you can be in a conversation, just record things really quick. And then when you're back at the office, it's automatically, in the app, and then you can just filter and put them where you want. But it's a great way of fast dumping it into the app rather than to a notepad or somewhere else where you have to remember where to find it.
Do you mean, when you say notifications, are you talking about this reminder option?
Yeah, the reminder. Yeah, because it's just a simple way, just records the data, and then you can convert it into anything you want later. And it's a one click in the mobile app, one click, record it, one click, it's saved. So if you're in the middle of a conversation, you're not worrying about, what department it's in or whatever. You can do all that later.
Yeah, that's great, Daniel. And then to access those notifications, you would navigate over to your home page there, and that's where those reminders would show up. Okay, so then let's see, ClickUp request form, an unscheduled verbal conversation or random thought. Oh, that's where I was going to talk about the mobile app. Thank you, Daniel. And then similarly, if you're at your computer, I know this is getting redundant, but hopefully you're seeing a pattern here that you can add things either by the task option. Daniel just brought up a great point. You can also just create a quick reminder instead. Maybe it's not something that's worth a whole task. Like maybe all you need to do is follow up with someone or schedule a meeting or something like that. And you just create a quick reminder for yourself. You can use the Google Chrome extension from anywhere in Chrome, even including turning, emails into tasks as well. And also as kind of the slowest possible option is probably to actually navigate within ClickUp to where you want to add the tasks and then add it from there. And you can, similar to how you can create a reminder for a smaller task, you can also just take quick notes. Oops, that wasn't what I meant to click. You can take quick notes and then turn those into tasks. So for example, I have this, this note here where I'm just, anytime something pops up where I want to remember, oh, I need to talk to Katie about how we can, maybe establish some best practices in the future. I can add that here. And then maybe later on, I would actually turn this, convert this into a task itself and give it an assigned date and that sort of thing. Okay. So really quick, we'll also talk about how tasks sometimes will just be coming from your manager. So they might, I'll just keep it in communications. Maybe something comes up and I think, oh yeah, I remember I need Jess to send an email about XYZ. So in that scenario, I'm going to similarly, however I want to, via Chrome extension, this quick button down here, I'll create a task, I'll assign it to Jess. And this is where my standard as a manager and what I think we should agree to as a team is that we are making sure we are giving our employees the option, that was a weird word, our team members the option to say like, hey, actually, this date doesn't work for me, or hey, I have some questions, or any of the above. So ClickUp is not going to replace human to human communication necessarily. It'll replace some of it, but we want to make sure that we're staying human. And then also I would say, especially at first, don't assume that because you've assigned someone a task in ClickUp or because you've commented them in a task in ClickUp, don't assume that they received that information. I think at least for the first 2 months, while we're getting our notification settings tweaked and set up quite right, just always make sure that you're following up with them in your check-in, or maybe you're chatting them in Hangouts or some existing method of communication that we know works well. While we're bringing everyone up to speed here. Okay, so those are all of the places, all of the ways that you could add tasks to ClickUp based on how those things came into ClickUp. I'm looking at the time and realizing that we might not cover everything, but I wanted to cover really quick some basic expectations for using ClickUp for cross-functional projects. So for cross-functional projects, we're adding tasks during a work plan meeting. We're always assigning the task to a person. We're giving it a start date and due date. And we're making sure the department field is filled in. And then we're also updating statuses for tasks. And key thing here is that no task is complete until it is marked complete in ClickUp. So always be sure that you're updating your statuses for each task. And to do that, again, you click this little check mark button here and you can select the task from there. So then I'll cover how you can view your workload. So there are a few different ways you can do that. First and foremost is this home option, which I have open in another window. So every day.
Sorry. What's the difference between completed and closed?
Yeah, so that's a great question. When I was setting this up, I was thinking that completed as if like this is done, but I still want to see it. Like I don't want it to just leave the list. I want to have be able to refer back to it. And then closed is like this is done. This is out of our heads. We don't ever need. We don't need to look back at this until maybe next year. Because when you click closed, that will generally make it disappear off the list. You can. When you're in a list, there's an option to show closed tasks, so you can turn it back on. But generally speaking, when you mark something as closed, it's just gonna go away.
Thank you.
Yep. Great question. So accessing your work. So we looked at this a little bit on Tuesday, but the home page is that's I think first stop would be your homepage. That's how you're seeing your work. You're checking your homepage every day. ClickUp also sends you I forget what they call the subject of that email, but like your ClickUp dashboard for the day. And when you open that email, it shows you the tasks that are due today, the tasks that are up next, and then I think the tasks that are overdue. So it's just and you can, from that email, navigate to those tasks and see more information about them. So that's a really nice kind of reminder thing that ClickUp does. But from ClickUp, to view your tasks, you can come into your homepage. You can, pop open these things here and see things that you should be working on today, overdue, next, or unscheduled tasks. You can also see over here your ClickUp tasks that don't have times assigned to them will pop up at the top. And then if you've overlaid your Google Calendar, it'll show down here. And if you have assigned times to your to your ClickUp task, they'll pop up down here as well. So if I assigned a time to I'm going to email Shane the icons at 11 o'clock today, it would show up down here as well. Like we talked about on Tuesday, you can also add tasks to your lineup, and that's just another way to say okay, this is the order in which I'm gonna accomplish these tasks. So that's the home page. Similarly, if you're in Chrissy, for example, works and programs, and I might be making a poor assumption of what Chrissy does and the way that this is going to be set up, but let's pretend that all of Chrissy's work in ClickUp is all in the program space. She doesn't have any tasks assigned to her that are in these other spaces, just by the nature of Chrissy's work, for example. Chrissy could very easily just click on the program space, and that would pull up all of the tasks within the program space, and she can click me mode, and that's only going to show her the tasks where she has an assigned comments, task, subtask, or checklist item. So that's a very quick and easy way from anywhere in ClickUp, any view. You can do it a list view, board view, calendar view, or any of the other task views. You can easily click me mode, and that will only show you the things where you have assignments. And then you can also, yeah.
How is that actually, I'm realizing, how is what you just said around me mode and the tasks that you're assigned to, how is that different than what's going to show up on your homepage, the My Work, if you go to today and go through is that just another access point?
It's another access point. The homepage is going to break it down by today, up next, overdue, that sort of thing. Whereas in the list view, depending on how things are grouped, it's just going to show up in the list view or in the calendar view. You can filter. I believe you could change the grouping by due date, but I don't believe it's gonna group it quite like the homepage does. But it's just, they're all just different ways of viewing the work that's assigned to you. And so you might find that the easiest way for you to work is to navigate to your space view, click me mode, and maybe save that as a personal view. And that's where you could add that to your favorites as well. Right click, add to favorites, which will make it pop up here for easy access. Everyone, I think, is going to have their own, or maybe their own way of viewing their work that works best for them. Maybe, I work best from a calendar view. Tuesday works best from a list view. We can each add different views to our favorites over here that we can easily access.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. For people who will have work spread out across all of the departments, so clearly that to me seems like support departments, like communications and IT, registration, volunteers, things like that. I think this everything view will be really key for us. So as you can see up here, there are multiple list views that I've created. The first one that we're on is just, this is grouping the lists by grouping the entire workspace by status. So first it's going to group by space and then list, but then it's going to group everything by status, as you can see here. Alternatively, I've created another task list that is just, there's no grouping, it's just everything in one spot. And as you can see, I can turn me mode on or off there. Another alternative is that you can create a filtered view and have that and save that. Again, the limitation with ClickUp is that views can either be personal or shared across the entire workspace. But there's no like in between. So we're just have to be really, really careful about the types of views that we want to add at this everything level. Okay, I know I'm flying through y'all. This is a lot of information to cover in an hour. But let's see. So those are, oh, and then additionally, I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, but a really helpful feature is to add a task to your task tray down here. So again, I clicked this button up here and it added it to my task tray down here. And that's just keeping things like on the, you know, like right in your face, tasks that you maybe need to come back to or that you're working on over a period of time and you don't want to forget about, or so that's a really helpful feature. Okay, and then also I wanted to show you, so similarly to how we can click me mode, you know, at any view across the entire workspace, we can also create, select certain people that we want to see. So that's a way to view all your team's work in one spot. So click this everything view and then select, you know, the people that you want to see. Let's see, what else? Another really nice feature for viewing the work that someone else this is great for managers who are trying to see like what their people in their department are working on. But it can also be helpful just to see, for transparency, to see like, you know, Robin is really busy right now. Like I know she's working on something. I want to see, I don't know, something about what she's working on. We'll pretend. If you click on from anywhere in ClickUp, if you click on the assignee icon and then hover over them, you can click on this profile button and it's going to show you that person's homepage and what they're working on from anywhere in ClickUp. And again, this is only going to show you the things that you have access to. So if someone has a bunch of work in a private space or in a private folder or list, you won't be seeing that. But it's a nice way to be able to see, like before I assign something to Tuesday, I'm going to see like, you know, I need to remind myself, how busy is she this week? And this is a way to do that.
Hey, Hallie. Mm-hmm. If I don't know why I would do this, but let me just ask, like, if I was building out my own private space and my own task list within there, but some of those tasks maybe are duplicative and would also be something that Chrissy's working on. I think I'm answering my own question that I should just leave it in the public space, but is there a way that I would assign myself something within my private space that I could also assign or, you know, see in a public space? Is there like a way to cross over there?
Yeah, so you would basically, that's how, if you clicked on the task, or you can also right click it and do this. You can either move the task to a new space, or you can just add it to another list. So if you added it to another list, it would just create the same task in two lists, and it would be the same task. So it's like a shortcut essentially. So yeah, any changes made in one place would be made in the other place. Okay, thanks. I know this is a lot. And we only have 9 minutes left. So I want to talk about kind of what next steps are. So basically, I know that I owe y'all a video of Tuesday's Tuesday session and then a video from today. So basically what's going to happen after this, I am going to send an email out with some directions and instructions and resources to these two, and links to these two training videos for everyone who wasn't here today. And essentially you are going, and I'm going to also invite you to ClickUp. I'll invite you to ClickUp, and I'm going to add you to your respective space, and then I will leave that space. So it'll just be yours. And then within that space, and again, this is all, I'll send this in instructions. Don't feel like you have to remember this. You'll all see this quick start list here. And this list has a series of things for you to do in ClickUp, and it's only going to take you probably 10 minutes to go through them all. But it's just getting you used to using ClickUp. It's telling you how to filter. If you click on this, you'll see that ClickUp has some documentation about this to learn how to do it and what kind of some options are. And that's what you'll find in each of these tasks. So that'll be your first day. You're going through and you're making sure, and you're checking all these things off. You're also on your first day, let's see. And again, I'm going to send you links to this, so don't feel like you need to remember how to navigate here. But on the everything view, there is this ClickUp resources document, and you are going to read through all of these docs here underneath the Welcome to ClickUp page. So you're going to read through first day using ClickUp, things that you should be doing on your first day, and then first 2 weeks using ClickUp, things that we should be doing in our first couple of weeks, and then our first month using ClickUp. I won't go through all of these for the sake of time because I know we can all read them, and I'll also send some reminders in the email that I'll send out. But this is going to be your first stop. So read these things, then you're going to jump over here and you're going to click on the Power Users tab, and you're going to see who your assigned power user is. And this is the person that you should reach out to first if you have a question about using ClickUp. You're also going to read through our best practices page. I don't expect you to have all of these things memorized, but it's very important that we read these from the beginning so that you at least have hopefully some inclination that like, oh yeah, like I did read about this. There is a best practice for how to do this. So you're going to read through here, especially you're going to read these ClickUp commandments, AKA the basics, because those are like the basic standards for how we are going to use ClickUp as a team. So super important. So you're going to read through these. There's information about creating and assigning tasks. It's a lot of what I've already covered in these training sessions. There's some other tips for creating tasks. The start of some naming conventions for folders and lists. Some information about tags and milestones. And then some other helpful tips. All of these we covered in yesterday's Tuesday's training and today's training. But this is just a way to refer back, and it'll give you some links to documentation about these things as well. You'll also, I would like for you all to read this permissions page, and this is going to give you information about what you as a standard user can do and what you'll need to reach out to your power user if you want to do. And then also, there are a few things that you'll need to reach out to either Pete or me if you need to accomplish these few things. So that's going to be your first day. And then first couple of weeks, we basically are getting used to using ClickUp as a team. We're going to start using it for work plan meetings and kind of get, so we're going to be adding adding tasks to ClickUp in our work plan meetings. And then you're going to be adding tasks that come up in other scenarios. We're going to start working on moving your tasks over from your current tracking locations. That might take up to a month, but we're going to start working on it in the first couple of weeks. And if you need to utilize the import feature, you can reach out to me. You're going to be updating your task statuses as you work, navigating between spaces, folders, and lists, testing out features, checking your home panel every day. That's this button over here. Also the ideal time to customize your notification settings. If you click this, that has lots of information about how to set up those things. And we'll be reaching out, to maybe make some suggestions for which notifications you should leave on and which you could probably turn off. And then also this is a great time if you want to sync your ClickUp and Google Calendars together. And there's some instructions for how to do that right here as well. Also in the first couple of weeks, I want everyone in their department to be thinking about the folders and lists that would be helpful to have in your department space. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be scheduling time to meet with department managers and anyone in the department who wants to be there. If Robin decides that she really wants, Chrissy or Nancy to be at that meeting, that's totally fine. It's up to the department manager. I'll be meeting with y'all to help you figure out maybe how we can best set up your space. And then first month using ClickUp. So after a month, I think we'll all be feeling pretty comfortable using ClickUp. You'll have all of your existing tasks moved into ClickUp. You're checking your home panel every day. We're creating tasks in ClickUp. That's our where we're working. That's where we're tracking all of our tasks. And you're adding all of your own tasks to ClickUp as they come up as well. Okay, I know that was so much to cover. I clearly didn't plan this out very well because there's only 3 minutes left. But does anybody have any super urgent questions that need to be covered right now? No, okay. Let's see, is Jake here? I don't know if Jake is here.
Hey,
I'm here.
hey,
I was
Hallie?
looking. Diane looked like she was trying
Yeah.
to say something. We couldn't hear her.
Oh,
Still can't hear you, Diane.
Diane, do you want to add it to the chat maybe?
While Diane's typing, can we just applaud Hallie?
Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
That's a lot of information. And like, it's what a cool. I mean, this has been an aspiration of this organization for 5 years. I mean, I'm trying to remember the first time we tried to implement something like this. So I really appreciate you taking it over the line for us, at least getting us to the line. Thanks. I mean, it's our job to take it over the line from here.
Thank you. And I will say, I know this probably feels a little overwhelming, but it's going to get better and it's going to help us just, I think, so much. So it'll feel overwhelming for maybe a few days, and then I think it'll feel a lot better after that.
I have a question that is there thinking about like, when do we check on like the norms that we thought were going to work really well and how well are things working, or what like actual.
Oh, that's great, Chrissy.
Back to that process to.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to cover this. So we're going to have these office hours over the next couple of months that everyone can sign up for. I'm going to send more information about those in emails. I think that after 2 months, I'm going to send out a survey and we can talk about the things that are working well and not working well. There might be, depending on the feedback we get, we might have another training after that. And then I also am going to send out a survey after 6 months as well. So is there a printable user guide available? I'm not sure about that. There's a lot of online documentation. I'm sure you can print any of it, but I don't know if there's just one document that covers it all that you could print. But I can try to look into that. One of the questions that came up at the last meeting was about what the priority is for ClickUp. And so I was hoping maybe that Jake would talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I think it's a priority. I mean, I think it's a priority. It's been a priority for us going into, I mean, we've been looking for a way to work together better. And I think one of our aspirations of this year is that as we grow smarter as well as growing bigger. And this is one of those ways we're going to grow smarter. So I am committed to making sure that we're not just getting us to the line, but we're actually moving through and this becomes the work system. And it'll evolve as we need to, but I think I'm invested in it. And I hope you are all invested in it as well.
Thank you, Jake. Okay. Again, I know that was a lot to cover. I'm going to send a follow-up email with some information and directions for y'all for once you get your invites and things you can do over the next day and the next couple of weeks. So look out for that. And thank you all for being here and for your great questions and energy. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Hallie.
See you guys later.
Bye.